Hi there, my name's DongHuaP. How do you deal with Samira? Samira is probably the most frustrating champion to come into the League of Legends scene for years. Even in the new season of Season 11 where everything feels broken, Samira still feels extra broken despite everything else. Other champions get to one-shot each other. Samira still gets to one-shot everyone on an entire team. So how can you deal with such a stupid champion? I'm going to give you 3 key factors in making sure that you're able to counter every single Samira player in your games. But first, we have to talk about what Samira is. What can we compare Samira to, and what is Samira like? The strategies that you will employ in order to be able to counter Samira are the same strategies that most people use to fight coronavirus. Samira is exactly like coronavirus because if you've ever had the displeasure of playing against a fed one, you know exactly what it feels like to have your entire world destroyed. So here are the 3 main tips you need to remember in order to deal with Samira. Number 1, you can't be selfish. Samira is a priority pick, which means that she's going to get chosen either first or second during the draft. That means for the majority of your team, they still haven't picked their champs yet. And if you're going to pick a champion, you have to pick something with hard CC. Samira's entire champion kit revolves around her ultimate. That is where the majority of her 1v5 ability comes from. If you're able to shut that down, you're able to shut down the Samira virus. In order to properly stop the Samira virus, you need to have the proper equipment as well. And that means you're going to have to draft things like hard CC. Yes, you have the right to choose to play Master Yi, Graves, or Rengar, but none of those champions are really going to help you play against Samira. Yes, playing Rammus is extremely boring. And yes, it is so boring that some people would even say that when they pull out their Rammus, they feel like they can't breathe. But the fact is that Rammus saves lives. And when you put on your mask made of CC, you're able to prevent any disaster happening and spreading throughout your team. You gotta have hard CC to protect your teammates that you care so much about. Sorry, misspoke. You gotta have hard CC to protect that elo you care so much about. Even a fed Samira doesn't do much without her ultimate. And unlike other AD carries, Samira is forced to get into close combat in order to use her abilities. Instead of burning all of your CC in a team fight, have someone save their key piece of CC just for when Samira goes in. If she's never allowed to go in, she's never going to be as useful as a traditional AD carry. But you don't want Samira to get fed in the first place, and that comes in to tip number 2. Preventing a pandemic is better than curing a pandemic. It's better to prevent Samira from getting fed rather than having to shut her down once she is fed. A lot of people avoid playing traditional AD carries against Samira because of her W. Her W is a 360-degree Yasuo wind wall that is just broken as hell. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't play strong marksman against Samira. Samira's early laning phase is considered fairly average. It's not the worst, but it's not the best either. And so if you pick an AD carry that does have one of the best early games like Ashe or Caitlyn, then you are going to be able to dominate her. As an AD carry, you shouldn't be afraid of using your skill shots on her because her W is on a 30-second cooldown. If Samira wants to use her ultimate, she still has to weave this ability in if she's at 0 style stacks. You don't treat Samira like an AD carry, you treat her like an AD version of Katarina. That means shutting down the assassin early on so she doesn't snowball the game. Just like COVID, Samira virus spreads and starts ramping up really quickly, so you gotta get in there early and shut that shit down. Number 3, let's say the worst has happened. Let's say that all is doomed and Samira virus has spread throughout your entire team and she has 20 kills now. At this point, you're probably already gonna lose the game, but there is still one strategy that you can resort to in order to potentially stop the Samira virus. One of the biggest reasons that Samira is so frustrating is because she heals for 100% of the damage that she deals while she's in her ultimate. So the more damage she's dealing, the more she's healing. If she's using her ultimate on 5 people, she's healing off of 5 people. So what you need to do is very simple. You have to socially distance yourselves. You have to stand 6 Rammuses away from each other. You shouldn't be clumped up in more than groups of 2. Don't be positioned on top of each other. You're in a team fight, not an orgy. Orgies are good for two things: questioning your sexuality and dying from Samira virus. That's how you deal with Samira.